Of the briefings. We'll discuss all of that. I want to get right to CNN's Carl Bernstein, our political commentator. Also CNN's Jim Sciutto, our chief national security correspondent. Gentlemen, good evening to you. Jim, this is explosive. It's an exclusive. Some exclusive reporting for us that the nation's top intelligence officials briefed the president-elect and the current president last week about claims of Russian efforts to compromise the president-elect. What exactly are you learning?
That's exactly right, Don, and a lot of teamwork went into this. Multiple U.S. officials with direct knowledge of these briefings tell CNN that classified documents on Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election presented last week to President Obama and President-elect Trump included these allegations that Russian operatives claimed to have compromising both personal and financial information about Mr. Trump. The allegations, part of a two-page synopsis based on memos compiled by a former British intelligence operative whose past work U.S. intelligence officials consider to be credible. The FBI is now investigating both the credibility, the accuracy of these allegations against the president-elect, which are based primarily on information from Russian sources. But I should make clear it has not confirmed many essential details in these memos about Mr. Trump. These classified briefings, I'll remind our viewers, last week were presented by four of the senior-most U.S. intelligence chiefs: the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper; the FBI Director, James Comey; CIA Director John Brennan; and NSA Director Admiral Mike Rogers. This two-page synopsis also included allegations, this is important as well, that there was a continuing exchange of information during the campaign between Trump surrogates and intermediaries for the Russian government. This according to two national security officials. CNN has confirmed the synopsis was included in those documents presented to Mr. Trump. We cannot confirm if it was also discussed in his meeting with intelligence chiefs. We've reached out multiple times to the Trump transition team for comment. They have not commented. Neither has the Office of the Director of National Intelligence or the FBI. I should note there was a tweet, though, from the president-elect which appeared to reference our story, the president-elect calling it, in his words, fake news. There it is, fake news, a total political witch hunt, he said.
Of course. That's not surprising. And also the legitimacy of these documents and confirming them, that's going to be what the transition team tries to do, to say, you know, that they can't be corroborated. Even Kellyanne Conway tonight, there is a comment from Kellyanne Conway. Jim, she was on Seth Meyers' show tonight, and she was asked about your reporting, and here is how she responded.
Well, guess what hasn't happened, Seth? Nobody has sourced it. They're all unnamed, unspoken sources in the story, and it says it was based on a Russian investigator to begin with. So where are we?
I think it was based on an MI6 British investigator.
Right. Well, one of those, and then it said that it also may have originated with a Russian investigator. It also says that Hillary Clinton, the groups that wanted Hillary Clinton to win, may have been behind the investigations themselves. And most importantly, it says that the FBI is trying to confirm it. So nothing's been confirmed. And I have to say, as an American citizen, regardless of your party or if you don't like politics at all, which are many Americans, we should be concerned that intelligence officials leak to the press and won't go and tell the president-elect or the president of the United States himself now, Mr. Obama, what the information is. They would rather go tell the press.
But the report was the press report was about them going to the president.
And it says that they never briefed him on it, that they appended two pages to the bottom of his intelligence report.
I believe it said they did brief him on it.
Well, he has said that he is not aware of that.
Jim, what's your reaction to that?
Well, there were a couple factual inaccuracies in there, but let's get to the big picture. The big picture is that, yes, it is true, these allegations have not been confirmed. But the fact is, you now have multiple bodies here in Washington that are taking them seriously. That includes the intelligence community, which took the really extraordinary step of including this in briefings, intelligence briefings to the president and the president-elect, one. Two, the FBI is investigating these allegations now. They're taking them seriously. And the fact is, it is not a partisan issue because Republican and Democratic lawmakers are also taking them seriously. We've spoken to lawmakers of both sides, senators and House members that are taking them seriously. Again, they have not confirmed the veracity of the allegations, but also, and this is key, Don, they're not dismissing them.
Yeah,
and that's an important point.
The other factual inaccuracies, first you, Jim, and then Carl, was it presented to the president and the president-elect?
It was indeed, in the briefing materials.
So that she was wrong on that account.
Well, she claimed, and we made this distinction in our story, we know that it was included in the briefing materials presented to both the president and the president-elect. And let's keep in mind, they don't put garbage in briefing materials. Okay, they just don't waste the time of the senior-most people in this country with that kind of thing. But I will caveat, and this is important, this may have been what she was referring to, we do not know that it was also discussed at the briefing, that they went into this in depth. Included in the materials, we don't know that it was also part of the verbal discussion between those involved.
But it was in the original document.
It was.
Yes, okay. Go ahead, Carl. What's your response?
Well, my response is that this is an extraordinary development in the sense that the senior intelligence chiefs of the United States of America have taken this body of information and decided that going into a new presidency, they are going to ensure that there will be a full investigation of these allegations. And it's very true that we do not know the accuracy of these 35 pages of allegations that come from Russian operatives whose information was given ostensibly to a former MI6 British intelligence operative. The backstory of this is kind of interesting.
Yeah,
the way this came about was that the MI6 former intelligence operative with long experience in Russia and the former Soviet Union was hired by a Washington opposition research firm that was doing work for opponents of Donald Trump, both Republicans and Democrats. And these people in Washington came up with a lot of financial information about Donald Trump's investments involving Russians, about his trips to Russia, about his loans from Russia, and they decided that they needed more investigation. They then hired this former MI6 investigator who has ostensibly, and the American intelligence community confirms this, great sources from Russia. And he then worked on this for months, and over the course of the months, he became so concerned by what he found about Donald Trump. Again, we don't know the accuracy of the allegations that were given to him by Russians. Yeah. He then took the information to the FBI station in Rome in August, gave them what he had found. That information came back to Washington. Then it's a very convoluted story. Then a former ambassador to Russia from Britain also had heard about this information and contacted John McCain.
And John
McCain sent somebody to see the MI6 former investigator, who then came back with these documents. Yeah. And the documents were turned over to the FBI. Again, 3 months after the first turnover, subsequent documents were given to the FBI, to Comey personally, by John McCain.
Why didn't this come out?
That is the long-winded story.
So the question is, especially when you consider what happened with the FBI and Hillary Clinton during the election, why didn't this come out before the election?
Well, first of all, the question of what is this? That Harry Reid, the former Democratic leader, wrote a letter to the FBI. He was aware of some of these materials and demanded that the FBI release them. The FBI did not. The FBI said it did not want, during the midst of a presidential campaign, apparently, to release this information. Now there is a concerted effort by the outgoing intelligence officials, some of whom will stay on in the Trump administration, but they want to make sure that this matter is investigated, and that is a big piece of news.
Jim, may I ask you the same question, why this didn't come out? And I think that it was interesting when you heard James Comey testifying today. He said, when they asked him about it, he said, well, similar questions involving hacking and whether who was being investigated for what. He said, I'm not really making a commitment. I cannot confirm nor deny. Why did this not, which seemed ironic to some of the people who were questioning him, why didn't this come out before the election?
Well, first of all, U.S. intelligence community had to do some legwork on it. Again, they haven't confirmed the facts and the allegations or the claims in the allegations. What we know has changed since then is that they have invested the source of these memos, this former British MI6 official, with some credibility based on their experience. Two, they've been able to corroborate some of his Russian sources as well. It's a process, right? Before you can raise it to the level of an investigation. So they had to do some of that work.
There was no corroboration on the Clinton thing either. He came out days later and said there was nothing.
Well, listen, I can't make judgments for how James Comey makes these decisions or the intelligence agents. James Comey, I suppose if you were to compare it, he had many emails to compare over time. These are allegations that don't have a paper trail in effect yet, or one that they've confirmed to back it up. Again, that's not my judgment.
Right.
But it's a fair question, as you saw several senators ask James Comey today. He didn't really have an answer for it, right? He didn't have an answer for it. But that's going to be part of this process. Is what was the thinking, and how much was invested in each of these various investigations, whether it's Clinton emails, Clinton Foundation questions, Donald Trump's. And keep in mind, there are two categories of allegations in this new material that Carl, Jake, and Evan and I have been looking into. One, personal and financial indiscretions or compromising material, plus communications between Trump surrogates and Russian government operatives during the campaign, both of which are serious. Arguably, that second one, even more serious,
Very
some sort
serious.
of the idea of coordination. And I'll tell you, let's look at the categories of people looking into this. Intelligence community, FBI, and we know, and Carl knows, Democratic and Republican senators on the Hill want to look into that issue. This is not a partisan issue.
There are going to be serious congressional hearings looking into these allegations, especially those about communications between the Trump campaign and the Russians and what they consisted of, if indeed there was such communication. This is going to be, in all likelihood, a long ride if what we are told by these intelligence people is the case.
Yeah. Jim, there is, we have not put the entire PDF up, but some news organizations have. We haven't spoken about all of the allegations that are in there. Why is that? Why are we reporting, what we're reporting, and other news organizations are reporting what they're reporting?
It's a fair question. We had enormous discussion here. Our decision was based on this. We at CNN could not independently confirm the allegations, some of which are salacious and very personal, in this document. And because we couldn't, it was our editorial decision not to put them out there in public and to focus on the people and the organizations that are taking a hard look at this, and focus on that news, that the IC, the intelligence community, presented this to the president and president-elect, that the FBI is investigating, that Republican and Democratic lawmakers are investigating. That is the reason that we did not present allegations in public that we had not been able to independently confirm, and that our sources, of which there are many, have told us they have not yet substantiated, although they have said they're investigating it. So our decision editorially was to stick with the investigation and the number of bodies and organizations and agencies that are now investigating those allegations.
Carl, you said there are going to be hearings on this, and it will be bipartisan, correct? What does John?
We'll see how bipartisan
did
it's
John
going to be.
McCain have a hard copy of this?
McCain obtained 35 pages, the full set of documents were given to him by an intermediary from the MI6 investigator. He took a look at them. He then thought they ought to go to the FBI. He personally called Comey, went in to see Comey. There was a 5-minute meeting between McCain and Comey, and that was that.
Yeah, interesting. I have to go to how potentially damaging is this?
I think you don't speculate on this. I've learned as a reporter that let's see where the facts take us, and that's what we need to do. But this is an extraordinary development.
Great reporting. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it.